Those opening clips from my 2003 Ford Crown Victoria. This is a 4.6 2-valve, mostly stock aside from some 262 cams, and it does have some new parts in there like timing chains and guides, new intake manifold, the list goes on, with a Vortec V1 supercharger, pushing about 9 pounds of boost right now.
Nice.
But I'm not gonna spitfire every mod, I'm actually gonna go through them quite slow, so if you're interested in a long format video on this build, here it is. I even wrote it down on a piece of paper. I have a goddamn script. Trying this YouTube thing out. All right, let's try and do this with no editing. Last time I did this, my GoPro said, it's too hot. I agreed with him and went in the house, got some water, and let it cool off, and here I am again, doing this build list. All right, water in. First, I'm gonna go over the transmission and the drivetrain, then get to the engine mods. We're gonna skip all the little stuff. You don't need to know what kind of steering wheel I have. It doesn't even matter what kind of seats I have in my carpet and what air freshener I'm running. These things don't matter. Let's talk about the car and the build. TR3650 transmission. This is out of a 2004 Mustang. So that is the last year they will work with the Crown Vic easily. They have a slip yoke style output shaft similar to the automatic trans that comes in them. The 05 Plus transmissions that are plentiful and more available, you know, the type that those Mustangs end up crashing into crowds, they crash into trees, so the transmissions are plentiful because the back end of the car has been smashed into smithereens or taken out a crowd of people leaving. Yeah, that's that. You can find those more easily, but they are more difficult to make work. People have done it. Basically, you need a two-piece drive shaft. You need a little bit of a slip yoke somewhere to take up for the moving rear differential. Those 05 Plus Mustangs have independent rear suspension and a solid differential bolted to the frame, so the driveline actually doesn't move up and down. That all stays stationary and the axles move like wings aside. If you're watching this channel, you probably already know how rear suspension works, but that's the transmission I have in this car. 2004 and under will work, 96 to 04. The later TR3650 transmissions are better. They just worked out some stuff with the synchros, and all in all, by all accounts, they're better transmissions. They're better built in the later 2000s. I want to say 2002 and up. I could be wrong on that. I have the stock P71 drive shaft that I had rebuilt and balanced with the slip yoke for the Mustang Trans. Bolts in, no problem, no spacers needed, nothing. You take your stock cross member, you modify it slightly, and if you watch my videos on how to swap a Crown Vic Part 2, I actually go over how to do that. I show you how to cut it, and it's pretty simple. So if you're thinking about doing that swap, I would say these days, if you can get a Trans for say, under 600 bucks or 600 bucks, you could probably do the swap for under 2,000 all in, with a tune, without cutting corners. You can obviously do it much cheaper. I want to say I'm about $1,500 into that portion of the build, which I've redone at this point. The stock clutch did not hold up once I started doing boosted pulls and started really beating on it. That stock clutch really started slipping, which was interesting. It's good to know that, you know, a stock clutch for a Mustang can't handle 400 horsepower, but I had to see it fail on my own. I now have a Exidy Mach 350 clutch, which is good for about 430 foot-pounds of torque, a little bit more horsepower, and that's been holding up quite well. No issues with it. I've put about 10,000 miles on that clutch and no problems. Now, the big dogs. I have Comp 262 cams. If you're thinking about doing cams in your Crown Vic, let me direct you away from Comp cams. They make a great on-the-shelf cam for your car, but there is a better option. There is Todd Warren. He does custom grinds, so he'll make you the cam of your dreams. Tell him what you're looking for, tell him what supporting mods you plan on doing and maybe your future plans, and he'll just make you a cam for a very similar price, and he'll have way more advice for you what you're gonna do. So he knows these heads, he knows these engines, he knows everything about these more than anyone I've ever seen on the internet. So talk to Todd Warren about your cams before pulling the trigger on comps because they're readily available. Obviously, I did springs and retainers as well. The big thing that I did to this car was the Vortec supercharger. I bought this kit, it's a little bit unique. So there was a guy about to put all these parts on his 2008 or 2009 Lincoln Town Car, surprisingly enough. He had a Vortec V1 supercharger used, but he bought a new Vortec mounting bracket. He bought 39-pound injectors, a 340 fuel pump, and a couple other little things from ADTR directly, so he could do the same thing that they had in their kit, just with a used head unit. He sold me all of these parts, plus the intercooler, plus a lot of the piping, for $2,800. I pulled this thing in on a Friday. I pulled it out on a Sunday, basically ready to drive. Now, there were a couple weekends in between those Friday and Sunday, but it did happen. I did pull it in on a Friday and pull it out on a Sunday. I did a remote tune with Marty and Jeff from Moe's Speed Shop. They got me set up, and I think we did 2 or 3 sessions. The first one was good to get me a nice bass tune and get me pretty close. The second one was basically right there, but I reached back out and I said, hey guys, I'm thinking I'm a little bit lean. I was in the 12s and boost, like a little more than I like to see. So without question, they got me back in that night. We went out and did some pulls, and Jeff edited the fuel table just a little bit, or the timing or something, and got my AFRs right where he wanted them. He was happy with it. And I'm happy with it. I have Stainless Works headers on this car as well. I did the high flow cats. I bought those from Marty and Jeff in Moe's Speed Shop. I want to say they were $1,200 at the time. The price might be different now, but they give me the best price. I usually buy from them. I love ADTR, but I like Marty and Jeff a little better, and I just go to them. Those guys have worked on my car, actually. They actually put the headers on because I was so worried about the exhaust studs breaking. I didn't feel like dealing with it. My wife and I did a road trip down. These guys got my exhaust installed, got my cams done, timing chains, they did everything. And it was awesome. I drove it home. It had about 50 more horsepower. And that's when I decided on that drive home that I spent far too much money for 50 horsepower. I need to boost this thing. Which leads me to my next discussion. So yes, I went with Boost. I've been enjoying it for about a year plus now. Many thousands of miles. People are like, aren't you worried about blowing it up? I am mildly worried about blowing it up, for sure. The tune is conservative, I guess you can call it. The tune is conservative. We didn't go too crazy. We weren't looking for the most power possible. We were looking for good, reliable power. And that's what I feel like I've gotten. I've done a few oil changes. I don't see any glitter in the oil. I'm not feeling anything down on power. I have not done a compression test, but everything feels pretty good. That said, if this ever does decide to let go, I think I will bite the bullet and do a Coyote swap. It is far too easy to get them in these cars for me not to. And I think I would do that NA. I would do an NA Coyote build just because it bolts right in. My transmission actually works with that car. So in the future, if my 4.6 goes and I don't put another one in, know that a Coyote is coming because it is the right thing to do in these cars. If I can retain my air conditioning and all that stuff, you can consider that done. But that was a long video. I did a lot of talking. If you like the video you just saw, let me know. If not, I apologize. Go watch some shorts. Maybe don't watch videos of me talking, but this is my 2003 Crown Vic. I love it, and I'm gonna keep building it.